Chapter 20. All My Love. Because advertising is, despite my use of the personal pronoun, a collaborative business, it seemed appropriate to invite a few of the people who helped make the Biow Company to tell stories drawn from it and lessons built on it. Their letters to me are nostalgic, affectionate, and perhaps too flattering, but these excerpts from them are evidence that the Biow Company meant as much to the people who worked there as it did to me. There are bits and pieces here that might be useful to men and women in advertising who had nothing to do with the agency. Deckinger wrote, "As I think back, it seems to me that the one priceless ingredient your agency had stemmed from your refusal to compromise with the quality of the copy. You never seemed to be satisfied with the creative staff. You were always looking for another man, sort of like the Yankees, leading the league by 20 games with George Weiss always in the market for one more pitcher. That single-minded emphasis on creativity, which is the reason agencies are in business anyway, set ours apart from the great mass of agencies who try to do all kinds of additional things. Maybe it's to cover up flaws in the copy that they branch off into other areas. Or conversely, maybe it's because you were so preoccupied with creativity that we managed to produce the advertising that we did." I'm going to quote from another letter, a good one, but without identifying the writer, if only in the interest of protecting the innocent. "Since our lunch, I've been thinking about the Biow Company, or as I prefer to call it, the old Biow Company. There's never been an agency quite like it, and I do not think there will be again. For the spirit, the unique quality that made the company so great in its time has slowly been leached out of big business and big agencies. The man has been replaced by the committee. The monkey of responsibility jumps from shoulder to shoulder around the conference table and never really comes to rest for very long on the back of any man. Few want to stick their necks out anymore. Most want to play it smart, which means play it safe. Hunch, perception, insight, awareness, these are the immemorial wellsprings of the creative act. Today, among the slide rule and litmus paper boys, these qualities are regarded with uneasiness and suspicion. They are not scientific, therefore they are unreliable. Every idea, every phrase must now be proved out in advance." George Washington Hill once said, "I know about people because I'm one of them. I'm a person." Any copywriter audacious or foolhardy enough to make such a statement nowadays would probably be looked upon as some kind of nut. At the Biow Company that I remember, there were no committees, no review boards, no battalions of marketing experts with veto power over creative ideas. They weren't needed. And they weren't needed because there were men there, strong individual men who loved advertising, and there was the boss. Between them, there was no obstacle course to run, no moats or drawbridges, no Praetorian Guard, only the direct line. What I am trying to say is that the company was not, in contradistinction to the big billers of today, stratified, stultified, or ossified with codes, customs, or chains of command. It was loose. It was resilient. It was alive. Of course, the boys are nice to me when they think back, but not all of it was for laughs, and even the laughs sometimes had an edge of irony to them. Wrote Ed Swan, "I can remember a meeting in the conference room at 9 Rockefeller Plaza. You, entering, said without any concern at all, 'It's wonderful to be here. How could anyone want to be anywhere else on a Saturday morning?' Another letter reminds me that I would stand for no fooling around with commercials. They had to be serious and to the point and simple. We began the practice of having an announcer introduce the commercial announcer. Johnny Roventini used to say, 'Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Charles O'Connor.' This gave the announcer and his message dignity. In fact, we believed that the commercial was the most important part of the show. We let the Camels and the Lucky Strikes and the Chesterfields buy the big stars in the programs where the star overwhelmed the commercials. We tended to buy plain, easy-listening shows like Crime Doctor and Johnny Presents. I asked the men who had helped me to help me recall. And I'm glad I did. James Garabrandt, who ran our production department, wrote, "Let's go back a few years. In 1929, we went from 40th Street to the tower of the Left Court National Building at 521 Fifth Avenue with less than 24 employees. You had Bulova Watch, Westfield Watch, F.W. Woolworth and Lorraine Hairnets, Lucerne in Quebec, the Iodine Educational Bureau, Alvin Austin and 3G Clothes, then Marlboro Cigarettes, And then we grew into Madison Avenue with Johnny and Philip Morris, Columbia Pictures. Our accounts began to range from cosmetics to trucks. Lady Esther, Adam Hats, Englander, Dromedary, American Trucking, Postal Telegraph, Eversharp, Whitehall Pharmaceutical, P&G's Lava, Teal, Fluffo, Joy, Spikes and Span, Lilty Pert, Shasta. Doesn't it sound like a musical comedy? Wina. And there was Ansco, Cobb's Creek, Lanolin Plus, Popsicle, Tootsie Roll, Shenley, and Roma Wines. And we had people that were great. Forgive us both for name dropping. Frank Krause and V. Vividu and Melba, Harold LeBaire and Henry Glass, Gene Stamler and Kenneth Good, Nate Spingold, George Brown with Columbia, Lou Thomas, Liz Lehman, Al Eichler, Phil Heinerfeld, John Hamm, Jim Kennedy, Sam Sutter, Bob Goldsmith, Gene Banvart, Jiggs Wolf, Wilson Shelton, and Ruthie Farquhar. And we had Take It or Leave It, the $64 question. And we called for Philip Morris until people complained, but how it sold cigarettes. We had Bulova Watch Time, No Cigarette Hangover, More Bounce to the Ounce, Armstrong's Ounce of Prevention, Knock Knock for Knickerbocker, and Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. And we were people. Mike Sassanoff, Tom Santacroce, Earl Hyde, Fritz Snyder, Roy Windsor, Gene Brown, Hector, Lucy Constant, Terry Klein, John Cameron, Larry Deckinger, Oliver Ford, Dan Rogers, Tracy Samuels, Rita Sunshine. You walked in one morning, said you had discovered we had too many beer accounts. And then Joe Taylor walked in to ask about one you didn't even know we had. And we still remember. One of your former employees, Sam Golden, claims that it was solely Biow's dynamic thinking that enabled him to take a brand new P&G product, Joy, and bring it up to national prominence in less than a year. It was his ideas that brought Eversharp from the doldrums of insolvency to first place in writing instruments. That brought Ruppert from years of deficits to a point where they were in the black. And it was the same kind of thinking that brought Pepsi Cola from 12% of the cola market to over 40%. It was fast growth and it meant day and night work, but no one really minded. It was fun. We knew about your drive and your willingness to do anything we had to do. You used to make me page you at the theater at night so you could come back to work or meet me in engraving plants or type shops. You bought first editions of morning newspapers and would wake me at home to make changes in ads and worry aloud about reproduction. All the emphasis on work and hours. It surprises me still to hear they are worth mention. Work doesn't kill anybody. The thrill of advertising is in taking nothing and making it something. But frustration, when you can't work, would stop the strongest man who ever lived. There are moments when you are up against a wall, and they are difficult ones when the walls are clients. I have worked for weeks to sell the client an idea, selling him first that the idea was his own. But whether it is his idea or yours, and occasionally a client does have a good idea, the ad man has got to have A, enough guts to sell the idea in the first place, and B, enough guts to demand that the client go through with his idea. If the ad man is big enough, A and B soon fade. The client begins to accept the right ideas. And this talk about bigness, big business, big agencies, big conformity, big competition. Bigness begins not with the size of the company, but with the size of you. What I had considered to be simply a state of poor health, an inability to have complete command of words and thoughts, turned out to be much more serious. My physician and friend, Dr. Edgar Mayer, not having been satisfied with the many erroneous diagnoses that had been made by other doctors consulted over many months, urged me to enter the Montreal Neurological Institute of McGill University to be studied by the renowned and internationally famed neurosurgeon Dr. Wilder Penfield. There, the positive diagnosis was made. In medical terms, it was a meningioma that had been slowly growing over an indefinite period of time and then had begun to increase rapidly. In lay terms, it was a benign tumor of the brain. Dr. Penfield removed it surgically, and the words started to come back. The words have produced, among other things, this set of notes that my publisher benevolently calls a book. If I get nothing else said here, I would like to communicate the idea that the challenge of advertising is fun. Someone in the advertising business once called this curious activity work, and tried to take all the fun out of it. No business in the world offers more excitement. At times, you cannot put your ideas down on paper fast enough. Your research department can be kept busy all day long, just following through on them. Once you take hold of advertising, it takes hold of you. And each time you get the thrill of coming home, you're ready to tackle something bigger. If you belong in advertising, it's so much a part of you that you have little time for anything else, except that you're interested in everything. Everywhere you go, everything you see or hear sparks an idea in your mind. Something you need, something you might use now or in the future. That's what this business does to you. It owns you. I know that there are those who feel that no business should own a man, and if by own they mean dominate, I agree. But if you are owned by advertising the way I am, you wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to check our link in the description, where you'll find many other fundamental marketing books in different languages. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more persuasion and direct response content. See you in the next one.